What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. I'm back after a bout of illness, another bout of illness. But no, I'm all good. Very excited to be back and discuss Ahsoka. And of course, joining me, I don't know what's so funny, Mike.
What's up? Well, first of all, you're back. Congratulations. Welcome back.
Thanks, bro.
Was that the first podcast episode you missed?
I think it was, or sort of, technically, yes. Because you and Hayden have done one, just the two of you before, but that was a
Oh, when
YouTube
it was
special.
the
But yeah,
right. Oh yeah, true. I'm laughing because I just look funny without a beard, without my facial hair. So I
I
just
know, updated character model over here.
you know what? This Ahsoka show is not referencing Kanan enough, so I thought I'd do it myself on the podcast. So I put a little season 4 cheeky Kanan before death moment. Will I die? Find out next week if I'm here or not. No.
Before death. Jesus. Man,
but
I'm getting a
I'm
bit
but
concerned now.
I'm doing good though. I'm doing good. Happy to have you back. We had a great conversation last week about
Yeah.
the world between worlds and all that, and well, we got some juicy stuff this week. But yeah, we had a good time last week. Obviously, we missed you. But yeah, overall, it's just cool that I get to be at work and then just be like, oh, it's a new Ahsoka episode today. Like Ari, you text me about the Ahsoka watching today, and I was like, oh, it's Tuesday because we Americans experience the holiday weekend. So today felt like Monday, even though it's Tuesday. So I was like, oh shoot, Ahsoka came early this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good time, and we had a cool watching experience, and we got to watch it with our friend Jasper, friend of the podcast. Is he a friend
Shout
though?
out
Does he still
Jasper.
listen or no? We don't know.
I have to ask him because I actually don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him. But how are you doing this week, Ari?
Oh man, I'm doing okay. I'm still not moving around great. I've had the flu and then a chest infection and now a bout of asthma, but I'm powering through. I'll be okay. The Saints are powering me through, so up the Saints. Also, funny you asked how I'm going because I'm going a lot better because something arrived in the mail yesterday. The
Oh,
ultimate Star Wars cookbook. I think, Mike, you've got your hands on one of these too.
I
And
do
that is the
actually.
sponsor of today's episode, is the ultimate Star Wars cookbook. There's a few absolute classics in here. Like if you just flick open the pages, look at this. We got the Kifu fruit fizz. Like that's just an absolute classic. So get your hands on one of these. Some absolute delicious recipes. The bright jewel rice is a personal favorite of mine.
But what about Fondor Ice? Like that's pretty
Oh, the
cool.
fondor ice, mate. How could we forget? No, yeah, get your hands on the Ultimate Star Wars Cookbook. It's a great collection of Star Wars recipes. Um,
Yeah, do it next time you watch Ahsoka. That would be Ari's and and I'm volunteering him by the way. I don't care how sick he is. Next week while we're watching Ahsoka, we will have a baked or a drink from here. We will make our own and we will eat it or drink it while we're watching Ahsoka, and we'll take pictures and put it on the pod page. Will this happen?
absolutely
Probably not, but we're gonna strive
unlikely,
that.
but you never know.
You never know. We'll make that part of our goal for next week.
Yeah, but
But
yeah, get your hands on one of these bad boys.
thank you to Instead
Absolutely.
Editions for sending it to us because this is
Yeah,
pretty cool. I mean, the holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving here in the U.S. and well, Halloween too. If you want to hang out with your friends and you have a Halloween party, look through here. It's gonna have some cool stuff for you, and even like Christmas and stuff. Lots of baked stuff in here and cool drinks. I don't know. Give it a try.
absolutely. Yeah, but anyway, man, Ahsoka was a juicy episode this week. There was a lot going on. Last week, real quick, I didn't give my thoughts. I don't know. What do we?
Sorry, I was
For a second, I was like, "Are we on a FaceTime call or are we recording the podcast right now?"
I pulled up for audio listeners. I pulled up a picture of me and Hayden Christensen, but I wasn't angling right, so it was just all blurry and reflectiony. And anyways,
We run a very high production here, high quality production.
according to our YouTube comments,
Exactly. No, but yeah, last week's episode, I don't have a lot to say about it besides, yeah, I enjoyed it. Love where the show was going. This episode solidified that I love where the show's going. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, Mike, what was your overall thoughts on the episode today?
oh, I thought you were saying last week. I'm like, buddy, go listen to last week's episode. This week's, I'm just liking this show. Like it's not blowing my socks off, or I'm not being blown away, but I'm just sitting there like entertained, like it's doing its job. And I just want to applaud a Dave Filoni and company for creating such a entertaining show that I'm excited to watch every week. Like again, it's
Mm,
nothing, it's not blowing me away week to week, or it doesn't feel like this big glorious thing that I'm watching. Like when Mando season 2 was airing, that was like a big triumphant thing. Oh my god, it's Mando, and I'm just like, oh cool, Ahsoka's on today, and I'm having a really good time with that. I don't, and this episode continued that. Like I've just I think the journey has been really investing. Um I think that the characters are all very interesting too. I think there's a lot of different unique colors in there. I definitely think that some of the characters are not hitting their potential yet. I'm hoping that we get to see more of the characters like Balin, like do I really like his character a lot, and I think this episode like just further that judgment from me, just being like, oh man, Balin is so cool. Like he could have been a stereotypical bad guy, one layered and whatever, and just these minimal little conversations that he has with Ahsoka just leads to a lot more stories and um uh I guess like just character arcs that I'm just curious about and stuff. And I'm just wondering how Balin got there. And I love Del Rey, but I hope that we don't have to find out a Del Rey novel to see what happened or how Balin got
mm,
there. I want the show to tell us. And we started prying a little into Ahsoka's journey, because one of my big issues of Ahsoka in live action so far is she's kind of like this dark and brooding character almost. And while we can put some of the pieces into place on why, they're not giving us a direct answer, because then one week she's all laughing and everything. And I just would love them to say, flat out say, hey, after Ahsoka's encounter with Vader on Malachor, it didn't go so well for her after that emotionally. Like she changed, we all changed through different experiences and stuff. But
mhm.
I think this is like, this one should be talked about, right? Sort of how the characters in Rebels, again, I said this last week, this is not the Rebels post-mortem show. This is the Ahsoka after show. But Twilight of the Apprentice, Rebels season 3 communicated with us on how and why some of the characters changed and stuff, because you definitely saw a character change from for Ezra, for Kanan, through all the characters, because Mortis, I'm sorry, not Mortis, what's that planet's name with the temple,
Malachor.
Malachor, there we go. It affected everybody in there,
Yeah.
on the team and everything. So I just want them to kind of delve into Ahsoka, because the title on the marquee, for the show is called Ahsoka. I would love them to have like this moment, even if it was just a convo with her and Huang. Malachor, I think's the same. Ezra saved me. What if he didn't save me? My own master would have killed me. Like I want those deep conversations. Like have those. I think those are great. I sometimes Star Wars, some of the shows that we've gotten recently, they're scared to have those conversations towards things like Stranger Things and stuff, where we get like these emotional, traumatic conversations with characters, and they talk about what happened with them last season, and they're just spilling their guts out, being like, after all that happened, I just wasn't the same. It's like, yes, like I love that, because it just speaks to me on a human level, because I feel like I'm pretty open about stuff, and it just for me, it makes me connect with the characters more. So this week I love that we got a little bit into that with Ahsoka, where Balin mentioned to her that like, oh, how awful it must have been for you after your master turned to the dark side or something like that. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, like, yeah, Balin,
Mm,
you're right on the money. But Ahsoka didn't say anything. I'm not here to talk about my past. It's like, nah, we all need therapy. Like, speak it up, Ahsoka. Like, don't be scared. So, but I did like that we finally got like
mm.
some type of nudge in that direction. But overall,
Yeah.
this
I think
episode,
we're
yeah,
getting there, and there's
yeah, we
like
are.
it just proves that the show actually has great depth.
Yes, no, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. This show has depth. I feel like, sorry, I'm not gonna compare, but I just feel like previous stuff that we've gotten in live action,
Yeah.
there's been no depth to it, and I think that there is a lot of depth here, and
We know
emotional
what
one,
you're
in
talking about.
fact. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, this episode was really entertaining. It feels very cinematic to me. I love that these parts are actually parts, and you could, if you wanted to, you could sit down one night and watch as like one big movie. Like that would be so cool. So I feel like this is just really like changing the way Star Wars live action is made, and I don't know, just I feel like I'm having definitely a different reaction to this than I was with Mando season 3 or even Mando season 2. Like this is just good. Like I'm just enjoying myself every week. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the overall episode. Like I just had fun, answered some questions, but there's more questions now. Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm right there with you. By the way, sorry, video watchers. I keep playing with my hair. I've been sick for a month. I really need a haircut. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit insecure about my hair right now. It's looking very shabby. I'm looking at you in your hat, and I'm like, I should have worn a hat.
No,
Anyways,
looks fine.
So what a guy! Always making his friend feel better with this shitty haircut. No, oh no, I just swore. Oh, well, we'll be right. Anyway, okay. This episode. So I told you guys I'm moving a bit slower today. No, this episode was great though. I think, man, it was just juicy. Like I really didn't expect them to explore so much or to see so much this episode. Like, and yeah, I think overall this episode just solidified to me that I really vibe with the series. I really like what it's doing. I think it's got a really, I really like the direction we're going in. Even me and Mike had a good conversation, and Jasper after the episode just saying like, man, like this feels actually like really inspired. It just feels like, it doesn't feel like a mass produced corporate, something they pumped out of a factory show. It feels like art. It actually feels like Dave Filoni sat down, wrote this, and was inspired. So I'm just, yeah, this episode solidified that to me. There's so much to talk about between the Inquisitor character. Obviously the ending was crazy. Sabine's off into hyperspace. Everything that happened with Hera, man, like some of those moments with Hera and the Ghost were just great. I thought the dialogue really improved this episode, where it might have been lacking recently, despite maybe a few bumps here or there. But overall, man, I'm having a really great time with this show. I think I'm not like in love with it, but I'm just super satisfied week to week with all the characters. I think all of the transition from animation to live action has really worked for me, which I wasn't really expecting at all, because in the past, or at least recently, I just feel like it hasn't quite worked most of the time. But in this show, man, I think they've done a great job. I think that there's so much to be explored, but in the best way possible. Like I don't feel like they're holding things back from us. I feel like we're just on a nice journey where that stuff will be revealed over time in the right moment, type deal. So really enjoying the show. Really enjoyed this episode. I think I mentioned this in the first review, but because you keep mentioning this. I think you mentioned this in the podcast last week, or maybe it was a conversation with me. But the show is called Ahsoka, and you want it to explore Ahsoka more. So I understand that. But for me, I just keep wishing this show wasn't called Ahsoka. I love that Ahsoka's in it. I'm happy for Ahsoka to even be the main character. But I wish the show was called like, something else. Like, and I feel the same with Andor, even the Mandalorian to an extent. Why do we have to have the Mandalorian, Andor, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan? Like, just why do we have to call these shows? It feels like we're putting the show in a shoebox by calling it that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the show is going to act that way because of its title. Like how Andor did. Andor, it has definitely not been put in a shoebox because of, or has been pigeonholed because of its title, which I love. But again, I think like if you called that show like Dawn of the Rebellion or something like that, that would be so much better to me. And I wish this show was called something that wasn't Ahsoka, but it is what it is. Not a big deal. Yeah, no, I'm loving it. But let's talk about the episode. Let's go through it. What did you think of? I guess we start off with our main characters, Ahsoka, Sabine, have a 20-minute long conversation as per usual, and then Hu Yang's all in amongst it, and then I guess where the episode really kicks into gear would probably be when Ahsoka and Sabine encounter the Inquisitor and Shin. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I thought it was funny how I'm actually getting sick of these those hunters working for Marg's Espa, whatever her name is, the Dathomir witch. I'm sorry, we talk
Morgan
about
Elsbeth.
Morgan Elsbeth. There we go. That's better than what I just said. I said like Moss Espa or something, but Morgan Elsbeth. I'm actually getting sick of these hunters because I'm like, they're just cannon fodder. We know they're gonna die. Like it's just these masks or like these faceless beings. Like it always bothered me in Rebels whenever like as Morgan had like his guards with him, and like I'm just like they were just like these insectoid looking things, and I'm just like you just never saw their face. They're all the same height. I'm like, yeah, we know they're gonna die. And same with these guys. I'm just tired of it. But
You're talking about the droids, right? Not the actual
well,
people.
I would say the droids too. The droids and those
Oh, you're
and
talking about Shin and
no,
the
not
Inquisitor.
Shin. It's those guards, those soldiers that with like tubes coming down their mouth,
Oh, those.
their
Yeah,
face,
got you, got you. I forgot
and the
that
droids.
those existed. Yeah.
But I actually like that Morgan Elsbeth was like, they're not gonna hold them off for long. So I like that she addressed that they're just cannon fodder. They're just meant to cause a little bit of a delay, but not actually harm them. But they almost got Huang. Huang kicked butt this week. I love that. Reminded me of his action days when he was fighting pirates aboard the Crucible. That was very cool. That was a nice. I wouldn't.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Some people will call it an Easter egg, but it happens to be where it just happens. It's a fight. It's not meant to be intentional. Like it's not. It's not like Dave Filoni said that like, oh, let's mimic that. We're gonna do this in reference to the time Huang fought space pirates. Nothing like that. Like, great, it happened, you know. Oh, it's
a pretty good Easter egg.
You know, it's sorry, inside joke here. But anyways, the conversation that Sabine and Ahsoka had about the journey was very cool, I guess, and I especially love how Huang was just like, hey, you guys work better as a team together.
Nice.
Don't forget that. And I was like, oh yeah, true. I'm like, it just makes me crave that story of Ahsoka and Sabine and what went wrong. I mean, they told us enough where what we need to know, but I would just love to see that dynamic of Ahsoka and Sabine working together, because what made Ahsoka just I want to see that moment Ahsoka just gave up on Sabine, because I just every time I watch Trials of the Darksaber of Rebels and see Kanan training Sabine, like he's ready to give up. Like he's just like so tired of her and everything. And it's Hera who keeps pushing him, like, and she lectures Kanan. She puts a hand, just a firm hand grip on it. And she's like, no, you got to stop letting Sabine train with these sticks and pretending that she can fight. Like you got to give her the actual Darksaber, and you got to let her confront her demons. You got to help her fight her demons and stuff, it's just very, very touching conversation. So I feel like both characters have come a long way, and to see them kind of working in unison is just so cool, because they each have like their own long big history, and I think it's just perfect. And we even hear, I like Sabine's theme for this show, but it's nothing compared to her theme that the Kiner family did in Rebels for her, especially during those Mandalorian episodes. Every time I hear that, I just go, my heart just skips a beat a little, and I'm about to cry. But we heard it for a second today, and I was just like, oh, that hit home. I was like, yes, like play more of that. That was good.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying the Sabine character a lot. I don't know if I really like the short hair. I really liked her long hair, but it's cool. It's cool. But I thought her action stuff was cool. One thing I will say, a nitpick here, I wanted her blasters to sound just like they did in Rebels, because they're such a unique...
I had the exact same thought, and I agree. Yep,
yeah,
exact
I'm
same
like,
thought.
there's just that, like, it's like if Ahsoka's lightsabers didn't sound the way they are, that they had created in Rebels to do. That sound effect that they made in Rebels, it's like if they didn't use that like unique sound effect, if it sounded like just any regular old lightsaber, that would have been but
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my internet is so horrible right now.
Do you think everyone heard that, or do I gotta say it again?
I heard it. Fill back in. I'll if I need to edit it in edit, I will. If not, we'll keep rolling.
Beautiful.
But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with the blaster thing, because I had the same thought with the Ezra's lightsaber, but then Hu Yang made some comment like, "Oh, you modified it or whatever."
Oh, right.
But no, I agree. It's funny you said that because I had the exact same thought. It's just one of those things though that they just do because they think it suits the live action better, which, you know, is what it is. But yeah, man, like I said, a lot to talk about from this episode. Moving on from sort of that fight. Well, actually not moving on because let's talk about it. The eighth brother, Marek, sorry, not he is not the eighth brother. In my head, he's the eighth brother. I skipped too early to my point. Marek, who I believe is the eighth brother. I don't know. Yet he's dead, I guess. I don't know. But he gets sort of slashed, and my immediate thought was that, oh, it's like maybe he's come from the world between worlds and he's disintegrated away because he was never meant to be in that timeline. It sort of reminded me of The Flash a little bit for anyone who's watched that show. But then Jasper and Mike both made the point, which made me change my thinking, that it looked a lot like the Night Sister magic, like kind of sort of like when Savage died or something like that. And then of course with Morgan Elsbeth, I was like, you know what, that makes 10 times more sense than what I was thinking. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think's going on there? Because I still firmly think that's the eighth brother. I'm not like going to be disappointed if it's not. I don't know. I just think that's an Inquisitor, looks exactly like him, and it connects with Malachor and everything. Also, side note, but I just really want to say this: people online making the biggest fuss about just Marek in general on either side of it. People being like, it has to be this, has to be that, or if it is a character we know, I am going to be so mad because that is the stupidest thing ever. I'm like, can we just watch the show? Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, like, if whether he's a new character or someone we already know, I actually don't care. Like, but
Right.
I'm just interested to see. And either way, I'll be interested and hopefully satisfied, because people acting like if it's a familiar character, I won't like it. It's like, you haven't even seen it. You don't know
Right.
what it's going to be like. What if it's, if it was like
Right.
Mace Windu, I'd be like, all right, a bit far fetched, but
Yeah.
I don't know. People just making the judgment before they've even watched the show, it feels like.
I know, and I love theorizing. I love, I love just just putting a tinfoil hat on every once in a while and just guessing at what the future can hold and whatever in terms of Star Wars, right? Like just story wise, and what comes in the next episode. I love theorizing, but also it just comes with a limit where it's like, now you set yourself up for disappointment because you just lost the plot. Like you just went off the road and into a ditch, and you were in another fantasy.
Yeah.
So to me, when people were saying about Sam Witwer voicing Merrick and stuff like that, I listened to these podcasters and they deconstructed the audio the same way they deconstructed the audio. Like they were the group that deconstructed the audio when Rebel season 1 was airing, and we're trying to figure out who Fulcrum is, and they figured out it was Ashley. Like they were the ones. I remember listening in that week, like, oh my god, it is Ashley. It sounded just like her. And they deconstructed this voice on their podcast, and it was Matthew Wood doing these the voices for Merrick. It was Matthew Wood. So it's like great, Sam Witwer is there. Like, what makes you think that he's the, like, what relevance does the Inquisitor, like, I feel like sometimes we just have to step back and be like, wait, okay, what relevance has the Inquisitor played so far? Little to none. Do you think he's gonna be a big player next week? He very much could possibly be, but
Yeah.
themselves where on last week's show, Aiden let us know that people online were saying that Merrick's identity supposedly was going to be revealed in this next episode. And guess what? It wasn't. His demise was, his fate was, but not his identity. And I just think with this theory, I mean, you already said it, but to me, I'm like, great. I think that if I was Pablo Hidalgo, like if I'm pretending to be Pablo Hidalgo or someone from the Lucasfilm story group or just a storyteller in my head, I would be like, okay, I feel like the Inquisitor was maybe after something Morgan Elsbeth was doing, something like that, during the purge or sometime in the dark times, and just like, what is she up to? Or like there's some type of conflict there, or just Inquisitors are meant to hunt Jedi, but maybe she has some type of tie or whatever. Like, what is she up to? Or maybe she conspired with an Inquisitor. We know how loose the Inquisitors have been in the comics. She could have conspired with an Inquisitor and be like, I'll make you stronger if you work for me, and work their magic on him, enhance him like the way Mother Talzin was able to enhance Savage. And that's my theory, because how did all the other Inquisitors die when this guy is still alive and he just looks like he could barely put up a fight? So to me,
Yeah.
I thought along the lines of Morgan Elsbeth back in the day, throwing some magical enhancements on him, and that's why he was able to survive as long as he has. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Um, I would love to see. I mean, Merrick, just another faceless Inquisitor. Great, I wish the helmet was on Rebel sometimes, because Rebel was just like Obi-Wan was just, I'm like, where's Reva's helmet? And then in Ahsoka, I'm like, is Merrick gonna take his helmet off? Not to see who they are. Like, I didn't care like if it was Barriss, or I mean, that would obviously, like, I would be like, oh my god, Barriss, like turn into a quick, like that's a big conversation, a big moment. But I couldn't care if it was Barriss or Star Killer or just a random Inquisitor. I just want to see the face. Like, I just wanted some. I think Dave Filoni is always on it when it comes to trying to direct the audience. Some of the things that are going on screen with the audience, like giving Thrawn pupils,
Yeah.
so we know where Thrawn's looking at. Or when Kanan was blind and he had that like helmet piece on him or whatever, that pad on his face, there was Jag eyes there, so we knew where he was just kind of looking towards and stuff. I mean, it's just like these little things. I'm like, I thought Dave Filoni might have unmasked him just so we could see some emotional reactions from this Inquisitor to maybe what Ahsoka was saying or during the duel or something, rather than just being a faceless cannon fodder object.
Yeah.
But anyways, I can't say that I was disappointed by the Inquisitor's death, because I just didn't care about him. I didn't care one bit. So I was like, right, on to the next. Like the ones that I think earlier I talked about characters not hitting their potential. I feel like Shin still has to hit that potential. I still feel like Balin has to hit that potential. So I'm like, great, we got rid of the stupid soldier. Next week, let's really dive into those two characters of Balin and Shin. And it looks
Yeah.
like we're gonna, because they're on that ship. So that's
Yeah, I
just
was
my
gonna say.
takeaway. That's
Yeah.
just my takeaway. But look, I love the Inquisitors. I love what Rebels has done with them. I love what the comics have done with them. Love what the Fallen Order games have done with them. But I think I don't know why this Inquisitor was in here, what benefit it was. It just seemed like to me another guy with lightsaber, red lightsabers. Like, great.
Yeah.
I thought we already had those with Balin and shit, even though they're
Yeah.
kind of orange. But you know
I
what I
mean, I would say for me, like I had a different sort of response to it all. Just more like I was like, "Oh, cool!" It almost sparks like another question for me. Like, so what's going on here? I still feel like there's more at play. We're gonna have some sort of answer. It's like there's a bloody earthquake going on here. Something. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background.
It's Merrick
Um,
dying.
yeah, it must be. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know. The whole thing, I'm like, I feel like there's more to play out there. I don't know. I think it's going to be a big discussion point during the week. I'm talking about it as if like they've just played a sports game or something. But I've been listening to way too much radio, guys. I've just been stuck at home. Anyway, also shout out to Aiden for filling in last week. I can't believe I didn't mention at the top, but yeah, Aiden's great, guys. Shout out Aiden.
And
Go follow
now
Darth
he's
Deacon.
sick. He's very sick. So
Yeah, I did fly back to the US, cough on him, fly back, just because I was like, I was worried he was going to take my spot, because Aiden's a great podcaster. So no, shout out Aiden for real. Anyways, moving on from all of that, we get our fight between Balin and Ahsoka. And can I just say, I just thought the lightsaber fights in general, I don't know if you are going to have some weird obtuse view on this, but I just thought they were all great. Like, I really enjoyed them all. I just feel like that's something you would just be like, in Rebels, they do this, and like, sorry to rag on you like that, but I think they looked great. I only say that because I'm curious what you think. Do you have a weird obtuse opinion, or do you agree with me?
I'm sort of in the middle, to be honest, because some of the lightsaber duels they seem a little repetitive, in the sense that like it's that slow type of samurai style fighting, which I like. I appreciate when it has I guess like substance to it. Like, I really love the Obi-Wan and Maul encounter on Tatooine and Rebels. You tell I love Rebels, but sorry, I keep mentioning it. But even here, I thought they did like the standoff, and I was like, okay, we've gone this before. And then when Ahsoka like ended up like killing Merrick like that, I was like, okay, that's a little too reminiscent. And then we got to her and fighting with Balin and Shin, and It were a little repetitive. I mean, I'm just like, take out your second lightsaber, but on the other hand, because that did frustrate me. I'm like, take you have a second lightsaber. She was over here like pushing, like using, which I thought was cool, but she was using her hand to like force push the lightsaber, like, you know, to give it more of, to hold her stance a bit more and to push back against his lightsaber. And I thought that was cool with her hand. But I'm like, you have a second lightsaber. You can easily just swing to the other side and then him back off. Like, it's just whatever. I still respect that they put so much effort into these lightsaber duels anyway. But I have to say, on the flip side, I feel like this is an upgrade to what we've gotten before. I thought Ahsoka doing these jumps all over, I'm like, that looks cool. Like, even her doing the kick on the rock and everything, it was such a small detail, but it just looked really cool. And shout out to Kinders again, because this could be this, like, if there's no music playing and you just heard the blades go on, which I'm sure there's some moments like that, but like overall the music, like when she was fighting the Inquisitor, like it just sounded upbeat and cool and fun, and I was just vibing with it. I'm like, yeah, this is rad. Like, this is what I want in my Star Wars. So I and you know, some of the music when she was fighting Balin, that was cool too. And finally we get a conversation between the two, and it was like I said earlier, I love that we were pushing towards that direction of exploring Ahsoka's character. And we did get a lot of that with her conversation with Balin, and even learning a little bit about Balin, even though surface level is still cool. And but I love the way he was telling her like, oh, everyone in the Jedi Order knew about Anakin. You know, he talked about you and stuff. And then she's like, funny, he never mentioned you. I was like, oh, burn. I thought that was great. Like, I thought that was just like a classic, like snippy Ahsoka moment. You know, I'm like, yeah, you tell him snips. So
Yeah,
love that moment. That was on cue.
definitely.
Um, and yeah, but the lightsaber stuff, yeah, I thought the duels were cool. They were. I mean, the Sabine one is a bit rough because I don't even know how she was able to survive that long against Shin. Uh, the second time around, I guess we did see her train a bit as a refresher, but it was, I was like, when Ahsoka was with Balin, I'm like, she should really check on Sabine right now, or can we go back to Sabine because I'm worried about her. I thought she was gonna get stabbed another time. I literally thought she was gonna get stabbed another time. I was like,
Oh
please
god.
don't do that again. Don't do that again. But anyways,
Yeah.
overall, I like the lightsaber fights.
So
I
yeah,
thought,
I knew you'd
yeah,
have some big opinion on it, and there you go. I set you up, and now we get to hear it.
I
No,
always
I
fall
say
in these
that in the best
traps.
way possible. I'm
I
glad we got to hear it,
always,
and
this is,
I'm
yeah,
poking fun at you saying like, oh, you'd say so or in Rebels, but I do the exact same thing. I
you
just
do, bro.
I don't want to be
I'll
the
be,
opposite of self-aware. You know,
no,
I'm being
exactly,
self-aware.
because
I'm being self-aware.
I'll literally talk about anything in life. Like, I'll be talking about sports or like weekend party events, and then somehow Ari always ties it back to Rebels and Ezra. It's just so weird. I'm like, do you ever go outside, Ari? But it's all right. He does go outside, by the way,
I wanna put
into
the
different
finger
countries.
not for the last month, but, anyways, also, I just, like, want to take a moment to say, Ray Stevenson is it's really, really
Oh
tragic
yeah,
what happened there, and it definitely, has put a different taste, I suppose, on what we see with that character because of the unfortunate passing, of course, of Ray Stevenson. But I just want to say that I think, and I think you can agree with this, he's putting on a phenomenal performance.
yes,
It's really fantastic, and I think yeah, the tribute at the end of episode 1 was great. But you know, I can't wait to see more from that character throughout the rest of this season. But yeah, I think it's really, really, really tragic what happened there. But the character of Balin is been brought to life so well by him, and yeah, I think this episode generated a lot of interest. And I thought, like those scenes you were talking about, the dialogue that Ahsoka and him were having, man, that was great. That was really great. So can't wait to see more from that character. A couple random things. Sabine not using the Force in those in that fight, I thought was great because I have two. Let me say this real quick. I love the show, but there's two things that kind of annoy me. First thing is that, and the second thing kind of ties into the first thing. First thing being, I don't feel like the show lines up as well with the Rebels epilogue as it could. That is a nitpick, but I really feel like there's things, and it's not about, oh, Ahsoka wears the gray hood. It's nothing to do with that. It's the things that Sabine says in that dialogue. Oh, one day I just realized Ezra's out there, but then we realized sort of not how it played out. Anyway, that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I don't know if this is an issue or I'm still wrapping my head around it. The whole Sabine being a Jedi thing, I'm still wrapping my head around it. But I really loved what was said, I think, in episode 3, where it's either Hu Yang or I think it's Ahsoka says, I don't need you to be a Jedi, Sabine. I just need you to be you. I thought that was perfect. And that made me really come to terms with what they were trying to do, because I think that sounds really in line with how I see Sabine. Like, yeah, she can, tap into the Force, whatever it is. I like that everyone can tap into the Force. Talent's a factor, but it's all about training, hard work. I love what they're doing there, but still having trouble wrapping my head around it. And if we had Sabine, use the Force on the lightsaber sort of Rey style from The Force Awakens, I think I would have been scratching my head a little bit. But I really liked how it played out, and she shot the little blaster back at whoever it was. And I just thought, not only did that I get a relief of, thank God she didn't use the Force, I thought that is so Sabine. And we were talking about this as well before, but Sabine has been written so well in this show. Like, she just feels so authentically Sabine from Rebels, but of course a progressed version of Sabine, down the line. So yeah, really, really loving what they're doing there. Do you have anything to say to that?
I mean, even if you have like doubts or whatever about, would Sabine really do this now? I mean, if you compare Sabine, season 1 Sabine in Rebels to season 4 Sabine, it's like, you mean to tell me she's worried about these people on Lothal so much, and she's with her family, and she's open, and she's emotional? Like, what? And in Rebel season 1, she doesn't even trust anyone. And so it's like, yeah, people can change, and I feel like Sabine has changed, but she hasn't changed, but she's transformed, and she's still very much at the root of the character that we meet in Rebels. And I love this new just everything with Sabine feels so fresh. And I'm glad that, like, as you said about the lightsaber thing, because I'm like, oh, she's gonna use the Force already. Like, I'm expecting it, but I'm not. I'm just like, oh, not in this moment, because exactly what you just said. It was gonna be too similar to other stuff, but it was just in the way I loved it, because of it, I loved it because it was just so Sabine with the blaster and everything. So, if not, we were gonna have a oh, you watched this episode, but you won't remember. It was the first episode of Stranger Things season 4, when she comes out, she's being bullied in a classroom, and she's had enough, and she's coming out to meet this girl that her bully, and she's gonna use her powers on her, but Elle lost her powers, so she just had this like very cringy moment where she screams, and she was gonna like yeet this girl across the playground, and she couldn't because she didn't have her powers, and she's like, ah, and it was just like this really cringy moment because everyone's just standing around like, what are you doing? So I thought that's what the approach they're going here with Sabine. Just had to mention that because I literally thought that's what they're gonna do, but instead they went the total. I don't know. It's just whenever there's moments like that, I'm like, yeah, I just root for it, because as small as they can be, it's a small detail that just impacts the overall picture. And I just feel, I'm like, if we had a big canvas, and this is just one piece that I would just look at for hours, just because I'm like, yeah, that's just so cool that that is just so Sabine. So yeah, good. Thank you for mentioning that, because I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think before we talk about what happened at the end, as we come to a close here, Hera and the Ghost, I think we've mentioned it, but how did you feel about everything that played out there? We're getting a lot more Jason. He had one line in this, and God, it was so cringeworthy. But I'm still on Team Jason Sindel. I think there's a lot to be played out there in a good way. But yeah, Hera. It says in the description of the episode, she like risks her career with the New Republic or something like that by doing this. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what plays out there. Obviously, those 2 pilots died when the hyperspace jump was made. So, and yeah, like I sort of mentioned this to you before, but I'm sort of hoping we don't go down this path with Hera where for the next 4 episodes she's like, oh, like she's coming to terms with, I can't believe I got those 2 pilots killed doing this thing, or whatever it is, just because I feel like Hera deserves so much more than that to be her arc for the rest of the season.
Right.
But yeah, overall, and you mentioned this as well, but seeing the Ghost, man, that was just awesome. That was just so cool. And just Chopper just sitting in the background. Like, yeah. What did you think of all the Hera stuff this episode?
Hera stuff, I love that you brought that up about the pilots because I feel like Hera's so battle hardened already. Where I feel like all those moments I think she would have had while she was on Ryloth, not now, and not even in Rebels. I mean, when she lost all those pilots when the battle or the attack on Lothal was happening, with all those X-Men, she lost all of them. She lost all of them, and if they didn't die in space or in the atmosphere, they died by Governor Price and her and Rook. Rook. Could you ever say that? Rook?
Rock,
Uh, no,
rock,
it's yeah, it's
rock.
like it comes from like in here, it's like rock. Something like that.
So I'm gonna leave that one to Thrawn.
Okay. I guess not to me. I guess I did that terrible job that I don't even get a mention. But
I did it last. Don't worry.
but yeah, I feel like that's so like if we were to explore that, I feel like that would have been more of a Rebels thing. So I hope they don't explore that. But I mean, I just had a stupid old fat smile on my face when I saw the ghost and Hera flying it again. I was like, it reminded me of when I first saw Rogue One and I got to see the ghost in live action and just flying around in these moments and just I was just I don't know, it just felt like a homecoming to me and I was just there with a big old smile on my face. I'm like, this feels so unreal and real at the same time. And I just bought the Lego Ghost um from Amazon the other day because I pre-ordered it. I was like, as a kid, I wanted that Rebels Ghost and the Phantom, the original set, and I just, at the time I was like, what, 14, didn't have a job, 100, it was like 100 something dollars, and I was like, well, I have money now, I can drop some on it, and I did. And when it got here, I had a big old stupid smile on my face because I'm like, I finally did it. And which hopefully the next podcast episode, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be back. I gotta refix my background, but the ghost will have its own section on my shelf. That is a promise. Like that, it'll probably have other Rebels merch in it, but it
Let's
will have
go.
its own. It just has to be.
I'm
But
hyped.
I absolutely love those scenes of just Hera and stuff. And I mean, if you don't know in lore, in canon lore, that is, Hera leads starship pilots like or X-wing pilots, all types of New Republic pilots from a Republic cruiser during this time. She's the like admiral of it or something. I think she's the admiral or still general, but she like leads these fighters and stuff. And the way she was asking Mon Mothma and the council for permission to go seek out something, that's how the pilots have to ask her for permission when they do stuff like that. So I kind of almost, not that the series needs to do this, but I love seeing Hera in that like position, and we even got to see some of that in that Star Wars Squadrons game that we all played once and never again. I mean, I would totally love.
Shout out Star Wars Squadrons, man! What a game!
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to rag on it like that, but genuinely, I'm like, how many times
Don't
have we
rag on
played?
my favorite game. I keep this in my back pocket every day. All right.
He literally brought it in his suitcase when he came to Chicago the two times that he came.
and
He brought
and
it in
Mike
his
would walk
suitcase
in as I'm sleeping, and I'd just be like,
with the game. So I mean, I kind of want to see that Hera being in that like kind of like leadership role and stuff. I love when she pulled authority in the New Republic shipyards, being like, I'm the general. Nothing's classified to me. I love that. So I want to show me some more of that Hera rather than the
yeah,
character building Hera, because we've been through that already. I kind of want to see her like
exactly.
reign on top, kind of like when we got to the sequel trilogy. I didn't want to see Leia running around hallways shooting. I wanted to see her as General Leia, the one
Yeah.
that we heard about. So I kind of want to see that with Hera in the leadership sense and stuff. It was still cool seeing her like fly around and like just be her own boss on today's episode and just walk out with New Republic pilots. Unfortunately, we lost them, right? But it was still cool that because Hera was supposed to be in like her own show, the New Republic pilot or the New
Yeah.
Republic
Rangers of the New Republic.
Rangers of the New Republic. So I was during this episode, I'm like, I feel like this definitely would we would have moments just like this in that show. But overall,
Yeah.
Ghost, seeing that damn ship just makes me smile. The sound effects of it, just I can like it just
Oh
brings me
yeah.
back home.
That everyone knows that's when that sound comes that the ghost is around. Also, yeah, Carson Tevel was in this, which real random, and I want to keep this quick, so we got to wrap it up. But we talked about this. Zeb still hasn't made an appearance. I think he will. I just think he's not needed yet. But I think it's in some form we will see him. But I'm wondering how Ahsoka and Mando season 3 line up together, because Carson Teva is talking to Zeb at the end of season 3. If I remember correctly, I haven't really
Yep.
revisited that dumpster fire quite yet. Anyway, so interested to see how they're going to line that up and how Zeb can play a role in it, and how is Carson Teva, is this before, after, what's going on there? But yeah, cool to see him. And yeah, obviously Sabine and Balin and Shin. Sorry, Morgan Elsbeth, all them are off to see Thrawn. So I'm glad we got there, and I like the disposition of Hera and Ahsoka being separated. I think, all that, I just thought people have been really critical of the pacing of the show, but I think it's perfect. I really think it's great.
fine.
Like,
I think it's
if you're watching a movie, you'd be like, this is probably like the first half. This is probably about as much you get in the first half. Yeah, if it stays at this pace the whole movie, probably it's going too slow. But man, they're going to speed this. It's going to speed up, I suppose. I don't think speed up's the best term, but like, crap's going to hit the fan, and it will pick up. So, yeah. Anyway, I like the disposition, and I just, man, everything they're doing is great. But let's talk about the moment at the end, man. Hayden Christensen is back. It was the worst kept secret in the world. They literally put him in a promo. But yeah, he's back in Ahsoka. And yeah, I always feel like I'm in the minority with this stuff. I don't know what the discourse is going to be like. People always saying that like de-aging and the CGI looks horrible. I thought it looked great, to be honest. I thought it looked good. I don't know if people are going to try to roast me over that, but I thought it looked good. I thought World Between Worlds translated well. So much interest, so much intrigue to be set up. Man, but I love what they're doing. I just think the whole show, I'm like, every week to week, I've been excited to, watch the next episode. But this week, I'm like, oh man, I cannot wait for next week. Dave Filoni's directing. I'm like, there's serious potential to see Ezra, Thrawn, more Hayden Christensen. So much is yet to be unfolded. And I think Jasper said, and I think he was right. I think we've pretty much seen everything from the trailers outside of that shot of Thrawn. So anyway, what do you think of World Between Worlds?
I'll save this more for later on next week's pod, but I'm just happy that well, actually, no, I'll save my thoughts for next week's pod because I don't have a clear opinion because I went on a whole rant about World Between Worlds last week, as y'all know. So I'll wait till next week to really get a grasp of what they're doing with it. But I'm a little cautious right now, but I'm just happy that Hayden's back. And it's cool just to have Hayden around and not be like, oh my God, Hayden's back after so much. It's like, no, he's back. Like we saw him on our screens last year and he's back again. Like, good for him. Yeah. We were in Anaheim. Ari and I were getting ready for the day to go to the Obi-Wan premiere or something, or it was one of the days of celebration.
Yeah.
And I got this video. I saw this video trending about Hayden Christensen being asked if he was in Ahsoka, and he was like, I can't talk about anything like that. And so it's like, so we basically kind of confirmed that he's in talks to it, or he was doing something for it, but he just wouldn't say anything. So it's so funny seeing him now. I'm just like, him and Ahsoka in live action, so real. 9-year-old me would not believe this crap. Like, I would, if you showed me that, if anyone, like any one of us, you went back and showed us, like, I think for me, I just would have been melted because Anakin and Ahsoka were literally like the characters that like just engulfed me in Star Wars. Like, those were the two characters. So see them interact in live action like that, I'm just like, if I had any like soul left in me, I would just be on the floor crying. But I feel very much dead these days.
Hey, man. And that's just the beginning, though. That's just the beginning.
It's the beginning. It's So next week, get the popcorn out, get the shot glasses. It's gonna be great.
I don't want to overhype it, but
it's just the conversation between. It's gonna be great. Like, is she gonna see Vader? Is she gonna see Anakin transform into Vader in real time? Like in those moments, we at the end the subtitles the dark side music playing or something like that.
Vader's theme.
Vader's theme. So it's like, what's happening? That's ominous. Like, so I'm very curious. What is she doing in the World Between Worlds? Like, I thought that portal
how did she get there? Yeah,
Dave Filoni said that the only way to get to it was closed. What's going on? I'm curious.
Did she die? Like, man, there's so many questions that I have and that everyone has, but I think that in the best way possible. I'm like, man, I'm so strapped in with this show. Like, I think to wrap up the conversation, I think both of us feel this way. We're not like blown away by it, but we're like, man, this is just such a satisfying and enjoyable watch. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm just so like just enjoying myself watching it, which is so refreshing after some of the stuff we've had recently, but just so refreshing and so satisfying. Can you attest to that?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, just overall good time and stuff. And I would give this episode a 7.5 out of 10, or maybe even,
Seven and
you
a
know,
half.
I'll give it an 8. I'll give it, last week I gave it a 7.5. This week I'll give it an 8 out of 10. How about you?
I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna go 8.5. I was really, really happy with this episode.
8.5.
Um, but that does bring our podcast to an end. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys so much. Great to be back once again. Shout out to Hayden for filling in last week. He does a great job. Really appreciate his efforts. But
And me
yeah,
playing
Mike,
host last week. That was crazy.
and Mike
No,
and
just
Mike did a
kidding.
great job.
Just-
Well, we're co-hosting all the time. But
Thank
I
you. Yeah.
loved I love listening to, hey guys, what's up? We're here at the
It's such an awkward intro
no,
because
no. It was great. I'm just saying, like, it was just not like I was like, damn, like it's not me. Like
yeah.
that's my.
Okay,
It was
gotcha.
good though. It was not
Gotcha.
awkward at all.
Thank you for saving yourself, because if not, that was the last time I did that. No, I'm just kidding. I would do it in a heartbeat.
No. You
Yeah.
did a fantastic job, better than I ever have.
Oh well, I wouldn't say that, but thank you. And if you want to see me make a fool of myself, check out _Star Wars on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, how about you, Ari?
At @stars_exchange, if I can get that out, on Instagram, at the SW Exchange on Twitter. Not very active on socials right now. The podcast is really where like my content creatorness is all going towards at the moment, being sick. Sorry, that was terrible. Anyways, but yeah, also you can check me out making some content on Saints TV. Go check that out, because Up the Saints final coming up this week. We'll get the win, and then episode 5 of Ahsoka is going to be great. And then I'm going to get better. Life's good, guys. This podcast really cheered me up. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone. May the force be with you. See you next week.
Bye, guys.